Hey, Leah. Whoa, where'd that come from? Is it recording?
Yeah. Look at it.
But I don't see it.
And soul.
Somebody will come in and change it. Yeah.
First, that one little spring vine. That's great. And then I did it this summer.
How you doing?
Okay. Good.
I don't have a PowerPoint today, but I'm just gonna do a quick meeting before you get started.
With 3 phone calls.
All right, and then I'll introduce you.
You need when you get started.
And then Carrie, you've been recording still, right? Because people are loving the recording.
Started it just now.
Perfect. Okay,
It's all.
great.
Hold on. 2/3 my call.
Tickets and parking pass.
And that's.
Yeah, thank you. And my t-shirt?
So at the fair, hopefully not.
Okay, sweet.
So it turns out.
So to wear my Henderson County Beekeepers t-shirt. Okay, great.
So the other, I thought everybody's getting a t-shirt, but you have to work 5 hours to get a t-shirt, so.
So sign up for 2?
You got. You signed up for-
Oh, I already signed up for 2. Okay, good. It'll be my first time helping out. I'm loving it.
So.
Everybody. Oh, hello.
Check, thank you.
All right, so we're gonna do a quick meeting so we can get right to Lewis Cauble, our speaker for the evening. The meeting's being recorded. People have been loving the recordings too, so we, provided that the recording comes out, we will put it on our, on your membership area at the website. So some of the meetings we'll put on the YouTube channel, but for those that are a little more special, like when we had Bob Benny, we'll put those on in a private area so that you have to be a member to see that. And if you have trouble logging in as a member and you don't remember what you did in B school, it's the same area where your homework was. Then just write info@hcbeekeepers.org or president@hcbeekeepers.org. If you don't know who I am, and I'm up here yapping, I'm Michelle Tennant. I'm your current president. We will have elections this November. Yay! Even if one person is on the slate for our directors, because actually I've assigned all the directors. We do have a full board of directors, but you need to vote for your board of directors so that it's official, okay? We're gonna do a quick meeting and just go round robin. I don't have a PowerPoint this evening because I've torn my meniscus and I have other priorities in the past few weeks. So let's, so what I like to do is always give all the board of directors a chance to tell you what's current. You can also look at the current newsletter that just came out 2 weeks ago, and you can go to hcbeekeepers.org, and the third one down, it'll say see past newsletters. And we had a pretty robust August newsletter that had signups for Apple Fest. I think there's a few spots left for bee talkers and to sell your honey. We also have, I think, one more slot to help out at the state fair with Lewis, who is going to be our speaker this evening. He's your state apiary inspector. But let's go ahead and go down the list. I don't see our secretary, Christy, in the room, but I know what she would want to say is she wants to remind you to be here at the November holiday party so that you can vote in person. We will not be voting via virtual means because we're still old school in many ways. Maybe we'll vote to change that in the future. But we're mirroring what's happening in the United States of America. So hopefully we won't have any voter fraud. And it'll all be fun. And we all agree who is our board of directors, right? So also, if you want to nominate somebody, now we've got a nominating committee, and the phone numbers is Giovanna, Jim Poe, and Bruce have stepped up to be our nominating committee. So you can nominate yourself, you can nominate somebody else. Please run against me. I would love to step down, but I'm also willing to serve again, okay? Because we have so much momentum. And I told my husband, I said, we're not moving yet to Lake Lure, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep supporting if I can, unless I'm voted out, which I'll be happy to also step down, okay? So if I know Gary's back there like, he wants to be president, right, Gary?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, right, so. All right, good. It's been easy this year, okay? So it's fun to be on the board of directors. We've been having the potlucks. When you get together as a community and socialize, it just makes us know each other as humans, and it makes it that much better. So I will say that in September, we've got our Bee Social and the Bee Board of Director meeting combo, because there's Labor Day, and that's going to be at the Hendersonville Community Co-op in their demo kitchen. I think it's the second Monday. We'll look at the calendar on the website. But you can also get food or beverages, including if you want to try their mead or their specialty alcohol. They do have a license so that you can go buy from the store and bring it over to the kitchen. Of course, if you just want soda pop or kombucha, all that stuff that they have all that. They also have smoothies and regular food and meals and so forth. So just get it, whatever you want at the co-op, come over. We'll do a short board of directors meeting at the start, and then we'll go into socializing. All right, so that's Christy. Who else is? So we've got Vice President, back of the room, Carla. Or do you want to come up here, and what do we need to know from our Vice President, Carla?
Another, like, I have most of the speakers nailed down, but again.
Oh, I don't think people at Zoom can actually hear you. So, and then, if anybody's having trouble or wanting to communicate with us on Zoom, just use the chat feature.
Let's see.
There you go.
Hey guys, so we have most of the speakers lined up for 2024.
Oh, what? Round of applause for that. Are you serious?
So,
works ahead.
so we have a really special guest. I don't know if you guys know who Marla Spivak is. So she's actually retiring next year. So she said she would look in her calendar. She might be over Zoom, not in person, which isn't great, but it would still be pretty cool to have her come. And if she does come in person, we would actually be joining Buncombe and Haywood County, and we would kind of join together for that. Just to kind of cover the cost for her expenses and things like that. But basically, she said that we could pick any topic that we wanted her to speak on, and she would speak on it. So if you guys can, like, her YouTube, she has a lot of, like, on her website talks and things like that. So anything like that, if you guys want her to talk about, if you guys could just let me know so I can give her a heads up of what we were wanting, or if it was okay if she spoke on that, that would be great. And then at the holiday party, we're gonna do trivia. They did that at the North Carolina meeting, summer meeting. And I'm trying to convince, I'm going to later, to convince Mr. Lewis to lead it for us. As long as he doesn't read the answers, we should be fine. But that'll be fun. So it'll be teams of 3. So if everyone can just kind of figure out who they want to do, and then let me know so I can have names and stuff like that and plan about.
Yeah, but are the questions gonna be easier than what they're
gonna be
hard.
way easier than what they were. I'm very glad we did not make the slate, guys, for that. But they'll be fun questions, and it's always a good time. But yeah, any other speakers, think about Marla Spivak, whatever you guys want to hear her talk about, just so I can kind of double check that with her. And then we have some other bigger speakers that we're trying to work out too. So that'll be fun.
Thanks, Carla. Yeah, we had, let's give her a round of applause, because that's amazing. We have speakers already. Yeah, I messed up and I thought we could get, because it was Eric, Ehlers, Carl, I mean, we were gonna do the trivia that you led at summer conference, and I was so upset that I had missed the deadline. And then when we sat in the audience and saw what was going down with those questions, I was like, I'm so glad we're in the audience. Right, because I don't know that any of us would have, maybe Carl would have known the answers, but I certainly didn't know any of the answers. Okay. Our next person would be treasurer. I'm just going down there. Eric, you want to come on up? Round of applause for Eric Ehlers. Come on. Always nice to see your board of directors, right? Great, money, money, money.
Money, money, money. So the bank balance is hovering around $4,800. We've been spending a little, taking a little in, so we're right there. All the bills are paid. Everything's up to date.
Great, thanks so much.
All right.
Okay, anything that we need from? Do we, just, let me just address that. If you're worried about $4,800, which is a very healthy balance, we make it back with B School. And so, but we'll also be doing some sales of the rest of the signs. We've already donated $1,000. Okay, thanks. I do want to announce, as Eric's going back to his seat, I've been invited by the state association, and I think Carly, you and your dad are going too. There's a special ceremony to, it's the endowment, building, they're breaking ground. And
New research and science lab for NC State.
the new research and science lab for NC State, and I can bring a +1. I don't really want to drive by myself. So if you had, if you wanted to be the guest and go with me, or if you wanted to share, driving, please let me know and we'll get you signed up and we'll go to that groundbreaking, okay? All right, so the next person would be, just so we've got president, vice president, secretary, treasury, director 1. Your director 1 is Dan Bowen, and he gave a notice in your newsletter that he needs people to sign up for Apple Fest. So that's at the website, and like the third link down, it'll say see past newsletters. There's just a few more spots left for Bee Talker and selling your honey. And there's an old video on YouTube. It's not that old. It's what we just did in the spring with Christy Boone. And she told you how to prepare your honey for selling it at the festivals. So if that's new, you'll want to check out that video, either in the video section of our website or on YouTube. Questions or anything about that? Okay. Dan Bowen's education committee chair, under Dan's responsibilities of festivals and Bee School, is Jim Poe, right? And so Jim Poe is also the person who helps coordinate any type of outreach to schools. And we did have a request recently. So if that's fun for you and you want to help out either with Bee School or the festivals or going to schools, you should contact Director 1 at hcbeekeepers.org, and Dan will put you in touch with Jim Poe, okay? Director 2 is Eric Walgren. So Eric does your newsletters and all the communications and so forth like that. He would say, read the newsletter. And then there's Director 3, Nathan Edwards. Nathan, you want to come on up and tell us what's happening from your neck of the woods? Probably just like that we've postponed things to next year.
Right. All right, so we've had some discussions on the classes that we're going to be teaching on the Master Beekeeper program. I'm still getting a lot of people contact me. There's a lot of interest in these programs. These are going to be postponed until 2025. We're going to work, Carla and myself, the rest of the crew, we're going to work on this to make it very efficient and very educational for anyone that's interested. Just feel free to reach out to me or let any of us know, and we'll get you on the list.
Great, thanks, Nathan. Great, round of applause for Nathan. So there's also, so that we have consistency with Bee School, and then it coming after Bee School and supporting not only the people who are in the membership, but also new beekeepers that will come into our Bee School January and February of next year. However, if you're urgently needing to be certified for honey sales or for anything like that, then you can contact Vice President at hcbeekeepers.org or Director 3, the number 3 at hcbeekeepers.org, and that reaches Carla and Nathan respectively. Director 4, your Director 4 is Alex Boone. So Alex oversees your resources. So if it's that time of year where you need extractors, and we were gifted a hive butler at conference for, because I submitted us for chapter of the year. We didn't win, but we're gonna submit for next year. But you have a new hive butler in the club, and makes your extraction really easy. Okay, so if you want those resources from our shed, you contact Director 4 at hcbeekeepers.org, or go to the website and you'll see Alex's information. He has a form that you fill out, and then he or Pat Rowe or myself will help you with the extraction materials. Okay. And then we've got our apiary manager. So Antoine, you want to come up and give us what's it look like in the apiary, and then maybe some news on the Veterans Healing Farm.
Yes, okay. Hello, everybody in Zoom world and everybody here tonight. Thanks for coming. So right now, currently, the apiary is thriving. We have our second treatments on. Our mite drops based on our first preliminary counts of their first one are very tolerable, within 6, most of them, or zeros. We have a little light hive on our sea bench, our single deep management. So we're going with feed on it. All our hives have sugar cake on them. The Veterans Healing Farm has moved in and very comfortable. They are tending their own hives, and Alan Yeck's crew is managing a long Langstroth and 4 double deep standard Langstroth hives. So they're doing just fine. They are ever so grateful for our club and our presence there, and allowing to use our facility for as long as they need. That's the groundwork we've laid out for them. We have enough space in there to harbor probably an additional 4 or 5 hives. In the event any one of you all had an emergency that your bear fence went down and you had a safe harbor those hives, we can take care of you. So we have expanded that hive thanks to our gracious help from Gary Clemens. Please stand, Gary, and take a round of applause for this. Gary is, and all our team have donated their time, their resources, and energy to make this all happen for the benefit of this club. So in perpetuity, for those don't know, for a long time to come, after I'm long gone and everybody else, hopefully this will be around there for them. But the hive, the apiary is doing well. We'll resume our sessions after the Apple Festival. Stay tuned at Facebook and on the website, and we'll keep you posted. Thank you.
Okay, great.
All right.
Okay. And then. All right, and so without further ado, let's go ahead and have our state apiary inspector, Lewis Cauble, come on up. And round of applause. So Lewis, if people have questions or whatever, I don't have a Zoom czar right now, that they'll ask questions here. Dr. Terry Kelly, did you want to announce anything from the extension office before Lewis gets started? Or maybe the farm day?
Just
Come on up and let's get it on the recording too. If you need support, Lewis, on that chat stuff, let me know, okay? I can log on to my phone. This is our extension officer, Dr. Terry Kelly. Scoot over this way just a bit so they can see you. And if you didn't know, Dr. Kelly actually volunteers his time in the evening here after hours before he drives home to Weaverville. So it's really generous of him to be here with us every Monday.
Waynesville.
Waynesville. Oh, Waynesville's even further.
Yeah.
I thought Weaverville. Okay, go ahead.
just a couple of things to bring to your attention. Our annual Farm City Day will be October the 5th. And we're gearing up plans for that. I think y'all are gonna have a booth there maybe, I'm not sure.
Yes.
So hopefully everybody will come out for that. We're gonna have good bands and the petting zoo and all kinds of good vendors there. It's a great time every year, so make plans for that. In anticipation of the Apple Festival coming up, we're gonna be the Beekeepers Extension and North Carolina Department of Agriculture are gonna be in a different location this year. So you've been used to seeing us kind of in front of Kilwins on Main Street. We're gonna be on the other side of the street, down just a little bit. And I don't know the businesses that we're in front of, but we're on the same block as McFarland's. Most of you know where McFarland's is. We're a little bit further up the street from McFarland's. but we'll be there. It'll be a little more shady there in the evenings. So we're moving everybody across the street to a different location, hopefully a little better spot for everyone. And speaking of Apple Festival, our annual apple recipe contest is coming up. It will be on the first Friday of Apple Festival, and the entry deadline is on Monday next week. So if you've got a special recipe you want to enter into the apple recipe contest, contact Abigail or Kia or Leah here in our office and get signed up for that. And they have all the rules and everything for the recipe contest. So that's coming up right away. So anyhow, those are kind of the big things coming up. And hope you'll be able to join us for those things. A lot going on this fall with the Apple Festival and Farm City Day and several other things. We've got exercise and cooking classes and sewing classes and all kinds of things coming up. And I also just want to tell you that our 4-H'ers have been doing an amazing job. They went to the state livestock judging contest 2 weeks ago, brought home a whole raft of ribbons. And this is only the 3rd year Henderson County's had a livestock judging team. So they're really doing great. And our shooting sports team went to the district competition last weekend. Several of them placed in order to go to the state competition a little bit later this fall. And I'm sure we'll send a few of our folks to the national competition in Nebraska just a little bit later too. So wonderful results from our 4-H'ers as always. Our 4-H team, Hannah and Alex, do a great job with them and all of our volunteer leaders, as well as our 4-H beekeeping club's doing a good. They extracted honey the other day and did a great job with that. So anyhow, y'all have a great meeting. I know Lewis has got some great things to pass along to you, so I'll turn it over to him. Yeah.
Okay, and round of applause for Lewis, take it away.
Thank you.
Sure you get started there.
Yeah, should work.
Go ahead and announce the participants for you.
All right, thank you. So my name is Lewis Cauble. I work for the Department of Agriculture as the apiary inspector. So I'm, helping beekeepers understand best management practices, help them look out for disease, help them problem solve, all that stuff. So that's my gig. I cover the 21 westernmost counties, so I do probably more driving than beekeeping. And I live in Rutherford County, work out of my house, truck, smartphone, all that good stuff. Let's see. So before we get started, you guys responded so well to the call for volunteers for the Mountain State Fair. Like Henderson County Club really stepped up, and I appreciate that. And I do have the tickets and parking passes here with me tonight. So a lot of you that I recognize, I already handed those out. But if you're here and you've signed up and you haven't gotten your ticket and parking pass and stuff, see me after. I got them all up here. And so double check that. I was a little confused on the t-shirt. So the fair, I turned in all the t-shirt sizes and the fair said, oh, they have to work 5 hours to get a t-shirt. So some of you that signed up for one shift won't get a shirt, but if you signed up for 2 shifts, you should get a shirt. So I think there might be a couple more spots available if you really want to volunteer at the Mountain State Fair in a couple of weeks. I can send you the link to the sign up and we can figure that out. Back in February, I think it was, maybe at the bee school, Mark brought this, he handed me this bag as I was on my way out. just handed it to me. He's like, oh, thank you, Mark. And it was from the Mountain State Fair. And in the bag, well, so there's a bag and a hat and a pin and an umbrella and a nice windbreaker. Like extra large, like. And then also in the bag was this framed. The frame with this certificate said, award for most volunteer hours, Lewis Cauble, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, well, you know, I did sign that. They asked me to sign the sign-in sheet for volunteers. They wanted me to sign that, but I didn't know. I mean, I'm not a volunteer. I get paid to be there. And so I was like, it was like 2 months after Mark handed this to me that I saw this. I was like, oh my goodness. And I didn't want to hurt the fair's feelings. So I was like, I'm just gonna pass this back to Mark and Susan because they killed it last year. They did I think 3 shifts together, and they did such a good job of engaging young people, old people, and everybody in between. So I'm gonna pass most of this back to Mark and Susan. They signed up for 3 more shifts this year. And so thank you guys. You guys really do. I'm gonna take the hat out and we'll talk about that in a minute. And so all this other stuff, I'm gonna put back in the bag for Mark and Susan. So you guys pick that up. And I wanna have another little award. It's called the first annual MSF BEVLA Award, which is called the MZBEVLA Award. And I'm very excited about this. It's a very prestigious award. And this goes to the Mountain State Fair Bee Exhibit Volunteer Lifetime Achievement Award. And so they'll get a hat and the certificate. And our award winner, of course, is Antoine. What? He's been. Antoine has, I don't know when you started doing this stuff.
I don't know. Just so much fun.
2015 was my first year. I'm not sure if you
Yeah.
were there then, but Antoine's been there every year since.
Thank you.
Doing at least 2 shifts. I think he signed up for 3 this year.
Every year, every year.
And
I love
so,
it.
Oh, man.
so here's your, by the power vested in me, by me,
Oh, man.
I present to you
I'm humble.
the this award, all right?
Thank you
So-
very much. Well, it's.
All right.
Yeah, all right, there we are. Buds forever. But it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all. There you go. Okay, got it. Thank you so much. I am embarrassed.
Oh, wait.
Oh, God, hey.
We took the hat out of the.
Oh, no, I'll tell you, it's so much fun to do this because you just think you impart your knowledge to all the people come up and that's the fun part. And you become the wizard on your own blocks.
Yeah, so little fun fact, the general population of the United States, about 15% of the people are deathly allergic to honeybees. Unless you're at the fair where that number jumps to about 103%. So, yeah, interesting. All right. So we're going to talk about kind of getting ready for winter. I know you guys had a good talk last month about mites from John. I got to listen to a little bit of it online. He had some good stuff. And we're going to talk about kind of getting ready for winter. And a lot of that has to do with getting ready or handling those mites. So we're just going to touch on a couple of things, and anytime I'm able to stand up in front of folks, I want to make sure I go through this stuff really quick. Critical management considerations. These are the 3 things you need to do. You know, you need to be pretty good at monitor and control mites, especially this time of year when we're talking about getting ready for winter. Feed when needed, only when needed. So that's if they're drawing comb, like a new package or a new nuke, that you're installing on foundation. If they're about to starve to death, and in my own bees, probably 10% of them are about to starve. I got to get some food on right away. Building stores for winter, we need to have a box full of healthy bees below, box of food above. In October, we need to be working towards that right now. Don't wait until October to figure out, oh, I need 60 pounds of stores up here. The colder it gets, the harder it is to feed bees. We're in a really good spot to get some food on the bees right now. It can stimulate the queen to lay, beating, and it can help in requeening. So manage that, or kind of buffer that transition from the old queen to the new queen. So these are the times where I think you should probably be feeding. If you don't have any of this stuff going on, not really any reason to feed. The last thing is manage queen events. So swarming, supersedure, just making sure you have a laying queen, or you're on the road to having a laying queen. That's more of a spring and midsummer type thing. As far as talking about getting ready for winter, I think it's really all about monitor and control mites and get that food on them. I just, as far as getting ready for winter, it's pretty simple. We want a box full of healthy bees below. This is a 10 frame deep and a 10 frame medium. This is just an example. You could use, if you're using all mediums, probably 2 mediums for healthy bees and another medium on top for food. You could run a double deep with, mostly bees here and food here and here at the top of this, and all of this, or most of that. But the basic principle is the same. Healthy bees below, plenty of food above. So again, now's the time to be making sure that you're working towards this. I guess the biggest thing is healthy bees. So what does that mean? Basically, bees that have been raised by healthy nurse bees who are raised by healthy nurse bees. So, and that means not parasitized by mites. So really, it's about making sure that you have not let your mite populations go too far out of control. How many people have done some monitoring so far? Wow, that's a lot of hands. Good. How's it looking out there for you guys? Not so good over there.
Lots of mites coming off.
Lots of mites coming off. I've heard good reports from other folks that they were, stable. So it is kind of, you really need to get out there and monitor to see what you have, because there's just not a one size fits all thing. Like, okay, everybody's got high mite loads this year. It's really important to monitor. I have to admit that I have not monitored this late summer. I did monitor in early June. I had a couple that were out of range. I dealt with those. And it's just, the older I get, the less I'm able to get out there and wear a bee suit for 3 or 4 hours to in this hot weather. I'm just not as resilient as I used to be. So I have to admit that I have not monitored my bees for this late summer part, but I am going to monitor them post-treatment. I did get my treatments on, although it could have been a couple weeks late. So we'll see how that works. I'm a little nervous about my overwintering, but we'll see. So making sure that your bees have not, so I guess the big deal with the mites is it's really the viruses associated with the mites that hinder your bees' ability to really overwinter strong. And so if your mites have gone too far out of control, the viruses have gone out of control, and even if you knock the mites down at that point, they still have the viruses, and they're going to be kind of crippled, handicapped. So I'll talk about, I have like kind of a flow chart of the different ways that I've seen people mess up Varroa control, especially when I'm doing, well, we'll talk about it here in a minute. With, I guess the other thing I want to say is with beekeeping, it's important to be proactive, not reactive, right? So you want to be ahead of stuff. Don't let your mites get too far ahead of you. Don't get too deep into late summer, early fall. before you start feeding, before you figure out that you need to feed. Think about, when you're doing your colony inspections, keep in mind what that colony needs to look like in 3 to 6 weeks and make a plan on how you're going to get there and start working towards that. Don't wait until you get into October and say, oh, I need to get 60 pounds of food on this thing. I have been getting calls lately from folks saying, oh, my bees are not looking good at all. And so the next part of that talk is, oh, have you done any monitoring, or what are your mite loads? And of course, they don't know what their mite loads are. And so, well, it's probably, that's the first thing that I would do. Find out where you are on the mites. So I guess I just want to talk about 4 of the most popular treatments. Let me back up before we move. Are there any questions or comments on what we've talked about so far? We're gonna get my chat checked. Looks like we're
Okay,
good.
yeah, somebody was talking though, so I saw them. Okay, great, James is talking. Oh, there.
Maybe it's me.
Hello.
Any questions or comments so far? All right. Good. All right, so I just want to talk about probably the 4 most popular treatments that I see in this area. The first one is Apivar. It is a synthetic miticide, so not everybody is excited about using a synthetic miticide. The other 3 are more natural types or essential oils, but Apivar, plastic strips impregnated with the active ingredient. It goes down in the brood nest. I guess the thing I like about these are they're not temperature dependent, so can be a good fit for this time of year when it's very hot. I've had good results with it. There are some pockets of mites that are resistant to it, so it's not a slam dunk. So I think if, in my opinion, there are some commercial beekeepers, in Georgia that have used and abused this product and leaned on it as their only Varroa treatment through the years. And so that's a great recipe for developing resistance. And so I am nervous about recommending Apivar to folks who have just bought packages, up out of Georgia. But if you've had your bees for a couple of years, you haven't brought anything from the outside, I think it's a reasonable option. I guess while we do have pockets of resistant mites, it does seem that if those mites are not exposed to Apivar for a couple of years, like if you're using oxalic acid or formic acid or thiamol, that the susceptibility seems to return, which is good news compared to some of our other synthetics where once our mite population became resistant, they were just resistant. So that's kind of the good news on this one. But it does kind of underscore the importance of having rotation in your mite treatment. So if you're just leaning on one product time after time after time, great recipe to develop resistance. So keep that in mind. So Apivar is an option. Can't be used if you have your honey supers on, so make sure you've got your surplus supers off. Certainly any feed supers that the bees are going to consume over the winter can be on during the treatment, but any surplus supers that you intend to harvest need to be off. Any questions on Apivar? All right, the next one is Apiguard. It's a thiamol-based product. Has a strong thiamol smell. Comes in either a bulk bucket. I think this was enough to treat 30 colonies, or a 10-pack of these, which is enough to treat 5 colonies. It's this white gel. This is a pre-dosed 50-gram pack. You just kind of peel the foil top off and set it on the top bars of the brood nest. You will need a little spacer. The bees want to get in here to kind of clear this out. And as they do that, they're spreading it around the hive, so that's part of how it works. If you just set this on your top bars and then put your top on, and the bees are not able to get to this, it's not gonna be effective. This does require a couple of doses, I think 14 days apart. But it's another popular product. What are you guys using in the apiary this year? Apiguard,
Yeah.
good. Any questions on Apiguard? Yes, Michelle.
Have you found that APGARD, would cause the bees to abscond?
I have seen that a little bit. It, certainly during hotter weather. If you have concerns about, that, there is an option to do smaller doses. So, the recommended dose is 50 grams. At 2 different times, 2 weeks apart. There's also an option to do 25-gram doses, I think a week apart 3 times. So a smaller dose, but over a more extended period.
Okay, thank you.
I think a lot of times, colonies that abscond or have a negative reaction to thymol, they may have been compromised before, so it's possible they were already kind of teetering, not super, not in a great spot. And sometimes it's gonna just push them over the edge. So, which it's important to, I definitely want to underscore that the treatments are not without risk. So, there is risk to the bees associated with the treatments. But certainly there's a very high risk associated with unmitigated mite numbers and viruses as well. So everyone has to kind of do that math and see where they fall on that. But I do see some issues with Apiguard, but it's usually the exception, not the rule. It does have a temperature window. I believe the upper limit is 95 degrees daytime temperature. So probably in a pretty good spot now this time of year. Any other comments on Apiguard?
What temperature did you say?
I think 95 is the upper limit.
I was gonna add also that even though the temperature, say we have hot days here, and if you did want to take the safe precaution of going in, say your hives out in the middle of the sun and it's always cooking out there, yes, I would recommend go to half dosage, and that way do it a little longer time. But thinking in the terms also that where we are situated, you're not in direct desert sun all day long. Your bees are probably the optimal time for the highest temperatures in daytime, could be from pretty much 1 to 3 o'clock. Most of your foragers are out, so bulk of your population is out. And yes, you will have bearding. Typically occurs when the bees at night, and sometimes early morning, sometimes overnight, they'll beard. But essentially, it's not 95 degrees all day long, or not 80. It's not the peak temperature. So this gives you a little bit of leeway and does protect you from abscond. Like Lewis said, absconsion is probably something that happened prior to your treatments, because there mites defecate all over the comb, inside the cells. They don't want to be in that place, and you made it worse by adding.
Yeah.
Can you recap for the Zoom people?
Oh, I see.
Louis, can you recap?
Temperatures are not really that critical because it's not that temperature all day long.
Right. So, temperatures are probably not a big deal in this area. The high temps, probably you're gonna hit those high temps between 1 and 3. Probably not a huge issue. Fair enough. Yeah, so it can be tricky because we're trying to kill. Think of this as the mite, and this is the bee. We're trying to kill small bug that's attached to a big bug without doing too much damage to the big bug, but doing a lot of damage to the small bug, and that can be tricky, right? So none of these things are perfect. They do come with risk. The next one is probably less, it's another thymol-based treatment. And I don't think it's as popular as Apiguard. Apilite VAR, it's on this vermiculite tablet. You break up into 4 pieces and put 1 piece on each corner of the top of the brood nest. This is, I think you have to apply it 3 times, 7 days apart. So today, this time next week, this time 2 weeks from today. Again, it's thymol based, but it also includes three other essential oils. So thymol, eucalyptol, menthol, and camphor. Again, has that very strong smell. The bees are trying to remove it from the colony. And when they're doing that, they're spreading it around. It makes it more effective. Anybody have experience with Apiolite var? Seems like Apiguard is the real winner there in this group. It was probably true across Western North Carolina. Mine-away quick strips or Formic Pro. I think mine-away quick strips are probably going away. They're not very popular anymore. Formic Pro is very popular around here. These pads soaked with formic acid. This is another one that's really quite temperature dependent. Looks like this week is probably going to be a good week if you're a Formic Pro person. I think we're having some cooler weather. I think the upper temp on the label says 85 daytime temp or below. I would say you probably want to, that's probably pushing it. I would want you to be probably 82 or below to be a little safer. And I think we'll have that this week. So if you are a Formic Pro person, looks like we'll have a good window. Last week, not very good. If it's too hot, it can really do some damage to your bees. This is a 14-day treatment, and it's really the first 3 or 4 days where you have to worry about the temperature. So after the first 3 days or so, it's really not an issue, but those first couple of days, you do have to be careful. This is, so there are a couple different ways to apply it. You can go, they have 2 methods on the label, a knockout or a knockdown. So the knockout is 2 pads at a time for 14 days. And that can be a little hard on the bees. And a more subtle way would be 1 pad at a time. I think it's 10 days apart. So 1 pad for 10 days, and then the next pad for another 10 days, which is, from what I have heard in the community, is the preferred method. Seems like that 2-pad method can, seems to be a little risky. Is that fair? Shane's laughing like the nuclear method. Yeah, so, yeah. Anybody else have any experience with Formic Pro they want to share? Yes.
Works great. I've seen the gentleman I helped with the nuclear method. Yeah, I've seen him put 2 doses on a colony that was 5 boxes deep. Came through fine.
Yeah, so
that's it. They're all dead.
yeah, so that can get a little tricky. I mean, I think the label does say they would like for the colony to be at least 6 frames. So if the colony's too small, it's gonna be too hard, and not more than 20 frames. If you have more than 20 frames, you're not gonna have enough oomph.
I put it on mine Saturday and I'll put it to 1 pad, and then 10 days I'll do it again.
Yeah.
I did that earlier in the year on a swarm. It works great. Just, I don't know that I would want to put 2 the first few days. Sure, that's really a critical time, but unless it was really bad, put both pads. It's
Right.
really hard.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else? Anyone else? All right. The last one, probably not a good pick for right now, but it is something I like to use in December. Apibioxyl oxalic acid vaporization. It's a flash treatment. It's great at killing mites on adult bees the day that you apply it. It doesn't hang around to catch stuff that's in the capped brood. And so not a good pick probably for right now when we have a lot of capped brood. But I do really like it if I have, for whatever reason, a no cap brood situation, like I picked up a swarm or a colony swarmed, they're in between queens, or, and they've got that spot where there's no cap brood. It's a great way to hit the reset button on the mites. But my favorite way is around mid-December, when we're kind of in that trough of cap brood or brood rearing, and we have very little cap brood generally. I like to just vaporize everybody so I can start the next year with as few mites as possible. So start 2025 in the basement. So I like that. There is another oxalic acid product that's been registered, and I think the distribution is just starting. I haven't seen it on the shelf yet, but and I probably wouldn't recommend it for kind of knockdown at the end of the season. But we'll see. I think some people are going to try it. It's called Varoxan. It's an extended release oxalic acid product that can be used with honey supers on. And I think its niche is if you have low mite loads in early spring before you put your honey supers on, you can put this product on at the same time that you put your honey supers on. And its job is to keep those mites tamped down through the flow until you get your supers off in late July, where you can apply other stuff. So I'm pretty sure that'll be another tool in our toolbox. I probably wouldn't recommend it unless you just haven't had any luck at all with the other 4 products that we talked about. I probably wouldn't recommend it for knockdown in the late summer, early fall. But I think it might have a good spot in the spring. Yes, Antoine.
Yeah, Bob Biddy has been doing that method this past season, and he's updated regularly on weekly videos on that method. And he said it's just on maintenance. So if you're at 2, he stayed at 2 throughout the season on test URT he was trying this method on. So it does seem to be, and flat lines everybody, whatever level you were at. So you're at 2, you stay at 2 the whole season.
Yeah.
6, etc.
So it's not clear to me how it would do if I had 10% infestation and applied it. Would I still have a 10% infestation, or would it knock them down? I'm not. So I think that's the question.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm saying, let's be careful with it for this time of year. But I think it might be a good spot, might have a good place to plug it in next year. So we'll see. Oh, this is my little flow chart. When I go out, people call me in the late winter, early spring to come look at to kind of do some pathology on their dead outs. And this is kind of how the conversation goes, so if you've had a colony that it looked great in September, you come back in February and there's no bees in it. You can see where there was a little patch of brood before they just all went away. The bees are not dead in the bottom. They're not dead outside. They're just kind of missing in action. That is surely related to mites and viruses. And so that's a lot of what I see in February and March when people are complaining about their dead colonies. So we kind of have this talk. So I say, did you treat? They say no. I say, all right, let's have the varroa talk. Meet me over there. We'll do a little varroa talk. Okay, but oh yeah, I did treat. Okay, good. When did you treat? Oh, I treated in October. Well, that's probably too late. They were probably already sick. And just because you knocked the mites down, you still had the viruses. And so let's have the varroa talk. I treated mid to late August. Oh, that's good. What did you treat with? Apistan, checkmite. These are some of the synthetics that the mites are resistant to. They're just not effective. Or they use some unregistered hokum that they mixed up in their workshop, totally off label. We'll have the varroa talk and the off-label miticide talk in the same corner over here. And I guess the other thing is, oh yeah, I used Apiguard, I used Apivar. Okay, did you read the label? No, I didn't read the label. So I have seen a lot of colonies lost because people did not read the label. They did not understand that Apiguard requires 2 applications. They just did 1 application and left it. And that didn't work out too good for them. So when I started asking them how they applied it, and they said, oh, I just took the tent, I took the top off, put it there, and I walked away. And so then what did you do? Well, that's all that I did. And I was like, well, you have to do that again, right? They're like, oh, really? Yeah. So they didn't read the label, and this particular fellow lost 60 colonies because he did not read the label. It happens, yeah. And so we'll have the read the label talk and the varroa talk. Yeah, I did read the label and applied that way. Did you do any post-treatment monitoring? I guess the point here is these miticides are not, they're not slam dunks. I mean, I think they're reasonable tools, but they do have variable efficacy. And just because you treated, that does not mean that it got you where you needed to go. And it certainly does not mean that, you know, you weren't reinfested after you cleaned them up. I definitely see that in my bees, especially in October. 10% of my colonies, they'll be squeaky clean in September and nasty in mid-October. So just because you do get a good effective treatment, you cleaned up your bees in September, they're nice and pretty in September, clean. That doesn't say anything about what they're gonna look like in October. So, but I would say post-treatment monitoring is super important. These treatments have variable efficacy. Even if you apply according to the label, I've seen colonies, they're sitting right next to, there's 3 colonies here. They're all treated the same way according to the label. Post-treatment, 3 mites, 4 mites, 32 mites. All 3 of them were treated the same way. So I don't know if that 32 mite colony got into someone else's apiary, or I'm not sure what happened there, but I guess just because you treat does not mean that you're out of the woods. Like people will tell me, you know, they got a dead out. It looks just like it was a mite issue. And they'll say, oh, it couldn't have been mites, got treated. But again, if they treated too late, if they used something that was not effective, they didn't use according to the label, they didn't check to see if it was, you know, if they got where they needed to go. It's super important. Any questions on any of that stuff? I think these are all the different ways that I see people mess up with the mites. And I just think it really underscores, I mean, I really want to make it underscore the importance of monitoring. We need good information to make good decisions, and monitoring is how we get that information. It can be a lot of work, but it definitely pays dividends in it. I think it's super important. So with that, I think I'll wrap it up. Any questions or comments? We're gonna have a discussion or whatever you guys want to do. Anton.
Yeah, look, so you always say that 1/3 of the time any treatment is gonna work, 1/3 of the time
Right.
effectively, and 1/3 doesn't work well.
Yeah, so 1/3 of the time you have a high mite load, you apply a treatment, and at the end you have a low mite load. That happens 1/3 of the time. Another third of the time you have a high mite load, you apply a treatment, you have a low mite load, and then 4 weeks later you got a high mite load again. And then 1/3 of the time you got a high mite load, you apply a treatment, and at the end you still got a high mite load, right? So there's 3 different outcomes there. And really only 1/3 of the time does that treatment get you where you want to go. So keep that in mind. When you apply a treatment, be thinking about what your next move is going to be when you come back and monitor and find that you're still above the threshold. So what's my next move? What am I going to do? Am I going to reapply the same product, or am I going to use a different product, or what are you going to do? And if you're not sure, please give me a call. We'll talk about the conditions, you know, that are going on in your apiary right there at the moment. And I can offer suggestions like, you know, we can talk about things we need to think about. Can probably make some good suggestions for you, and I'm happy to do that. So, please, I mean, I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet, but I love talking about mites, monitoring, and treatments. So please lean on me for that stuff. I love it. So I'm happy to help with that. What else? Yes, Helen.
So just review, after you treat, so say it's a 14-day treatment,
Mm-hmm.
do you monitor on day 14 or do you monitor 2 weeks after?
Yeah, so I think with those where you have a shorter treatment than the brood cycle, I would, you know, brood cycle is 21 days, so I would probably monitor 21 days after you applied it, after you put it on. The other products are like 42 days, so you can monitor at the end of the treatment. It's like when I'm taking an Apivar out, I'm collecting samples that same day. So I think just with formic acid, you want to wait 21 days after you put that product in the hive, I think is probably best. So with Formic Pro, it does purport to permeate the cat brood cells and kill mites under the cat brood, which is unique. The other products are in the colonies for usually 2 brood cycles to catch stuff that's emerging from the cat brood to kill that. A lot of the cat brood, I mean, a lot of the mites are in the cat brood. So 60% of the mites in the colony can be in the cat brood. So think about that as you're doing your monitoring. For a lot of people say, oh, Mom, I shook 3 or 7 out of 300 bees, which is a good number. That's good. But if you've got 6 frames of cat brood, things can change as all that brood emerges. So think about that when you're looking at your colonies and assessing your mite numbers. A lot of moving parts. What else? We only have an hour left until 9 o'clock, so. Yes.
You talk about your other duties as the state inspector, you have to meet colonies coming into the state, being transported.
Yeah, so our kind of our regulatory duties are, like, we ask beekeepers that are moving into North Carolina to be inspected before they show up. So they'll get an inspection, share that inspection report with us. And my supervisor will issue a entry permit, North Carolina entry permit. So for beekeepers coming from states who have an inspection program. Not all states have an inspection program. And so they'll say, hey, I'm gonna be moving in this day. Can you guys come look at me when I hit the ground? And we do that stuff.
You routinely inspect commercial guys, or just on the as needed basis?
So we probably it's mostly in the spring. A lot of so it can be late winter and early spring. So a lot of commercial guys, especially down east. So as you go east, the further you go east, the more big commercial operators we have. A lot of those go to almonds in California for February. And then they'll come back to North Carolina to the blueberries, to pollinate blueberries in March. And so we look at a lot of that stuff coming back from California in the blueberries down east. So they can, because they want to move on up the coast and follow the blueberry bloom through the East Coast up to Maine. So we'll do a lot of those inspections.
Did they say so, or do you have any interest in guys like us that might sell nukes in the springs?
Yeah, so if you're gonna sell more than 10 nukes, we do want you to have a permit to sell. And so we just want to make sure that the stuff that you're selling is healthy before it gets distributed. All we regulate is American foul broods. That's really all we're looking for in that inspection. So even if we're going to be looking for European, American, other diseases, and we're certainly going to point all that stuff out to you and ask you not to sell stuff that has European, but the only thing that we regulate is American.
Sure. Fee for the permit?
$25 for the year, and that permit is good from January 1st to December 31st. So there's a application and a compliance agreement and a $25 check and inspection. And so we maintain a permit to sell list on our website. So if you're looking for packages, nukes, queens,
anything,
you can go to our permit to sell list and see who's on that list, and you can see what they're selling. Are they selling? Some are just selling queens, some are just selling packages or reselling packages. Some are just selling nukes. So you can go to that, to our website, find that permit to sell, and it'll have their name, phone number, address, contact info. And we keep that thing updated. Also, out-of-state bee sellers, so queen producers or package producers are also on that list. So they'll be at the bottom of that. Yes, Bruce.
what
what is it that you're looking for that you said?
American foul brood, bacterial disease, American foul brood. Yeah, which we, thankfully don't find a whole lot of. I haven't seen any in western North Carolina since 2018 or 19 or so. I was in Watauga County. So not super prevalent. It's very dangerous and it's very, it's bad stuff, but it's not prevalent. I think because of our good county associations are on the lookout for it and our good beekeepers, bee schools, all that stuff.
Lewis, with regards to the new product with pads, is this kind of a takeoff of what Randy Oliver was doing out in California, or is that something different?
So the pads and the sponges are completely off label, like not,
Oh, okay,
it's not a registered product and it's not legal to use those.
right, okay.
This new product is, it's kind of looks, I think, I haven't seen one in person, but it looks to be kind of like Hop Guard, where it's kind of a cardboard strip that hangs over the brood nest and down into the brood nest. So it's not the Swedish sponge. It's not that. I don't think that's ever gonna get registered. I don't think EPA is gonna let beekeepers
Right.
whoop up their own stuff in their kitchen. This is a product that had been registered in another country. I don't know if it was Argentina or something like that, but they've been using it for a while. And so whenever they have when other countries that is using it, there's always data that the EPA can look at and it kind of helps stuff get registered. And I think there might be another similar product coming after that. We'll see, but certainly Viroxan is shipping soon, I think. So we'll see. Jim, what's up? I got a ticket for you for the state fair, even though you haven't signed up. So we got you.
No, I wait to the end and then I take all the.
Come see me. I got your stuff.
So I think it's kind of interesting, the history of the inspection system, how it came about.
It's really all about American foul brood. That's where it came from, like maybe 100 years ago.
That long ago.
Yeah. So it was the American foul brood was the varroa mite of 100 years ago. Like it was just ravaging the industry. And so a lot of the departments of agriculture said, we need some folks that can look out for this stuff to help train beekeepers and deal with this. And that's where a lot of the inspection programs came from.
So your program is a government program that actually has worked.
In North Carolina, I would say, I think it has worked. I mean, although I will say, if I had to justify my job on American foul brood, I'd be out of work. I would have to turn in my truck keys because I haven't seen it. I've looked for it, but I haven't seen any in 4 or 5 years. So we spend our time helping beekeepers understand best management practices and problem solving and doing presentations like this. So,
yeah,
which a lot of other states don't do. So other state, like if you just go to South Carolina, they have one bee inspector. He doesn't care about helping you guys. He's just looking out for disease. Like, so I think we're lucky in North Carolina to have number one, the State Beekeepers Association that charters all the clubs, and the Department of Agriculture, the inspection services, and NCSU Apiculture that does the research. I think we got a good thing going in North Carolina.
Any updates on AP tropholaps, the new victim?
Trophy. So it's definitely something we're on the lookout for. And so there's a Association of Apiary Inspectors, Apiary Inspectors of America, AIA. They are really focusing on AAA laps as well as the yellow-legged hornet, especially in the Southeast. So the Apiary Inspectors of America are teaming up with, I think it's Auburn University. So at least one apiary inspector from each program in the States is headed to Auburn in November to train and talk about tropholaylaps, how to monitor. Cohort of them went to Thailand in the spring, so there's probably 10 or 12 apiary inspectors that went to Thailand and were able to get hands-on experience with tropholaylaps to see, how they work in the colony, think about monitoring methods, treatment methods. So our biggest question now is how to detect them when they show up. How do we look for them? And so that's a big question right now. What's the best way to monitor for them? And so that's a question that we're wrestling with right now. What's the best way to keep an eye out for these things? So. All right. So if you signed up for the fair, you haven't got your ticket, see me. And I'll be around for a little bit if you have any questions, if you guys want to break it up.
I was just gonna- If anybody's thinking about entering any of their honey.
That's a good-
products, there's only like 4 days left.
Yes, so we do have a little honey show there. So if you have extracted, there's 2 categories, dark or light. For extracted honey, you'll enter 3 jars of each. And then, of course, there's cut, comb, section, chunk, of frame for extracting, or frame for cutting. I think there's wax categories, candles and novelties. Maybe some cosmetics. You have to look at the Mountain State Fair website where they'll have the categories and the rules and how we're going to judge them. So our apiary inspector from just east of here, Anton Jobert, will be our judge for the fair. Also, we've got a lot of room like we did last year. For the previous few years have been kind of cramped. We'll have that same nice space. 2 tables will be in the middle and Buncombe County will be setting up their display. There'll be plenty of table space. If you have anything, if the Henderson County Beekeepers want to bring to display, you're welcome to do that. I will have the 2 frame observation hive and the bee cage. And we'll just have a good time with it. You want the mic, Jim? Come on, I know you do.
So, what do we think about Lewis? I don't know if Michelle got to it. She said she mentioned something about it, or maybe she didn't. Bold Rock. Everybody know Bold Rock Cidery? Has anybody heard of Bold Rock? Okay. Yes, yeah. And so we're this weekend, we're gonna be there, but I'm not expecting very much because it's been going on for about 5 years, and the first 3 years were really good. And then the 4th year was okay, and last year, like, hardly anybody showed up and they hardly advertised, so I think I sold 2 bottles of honey, and you didn't get there, did you, Shane? No, did you sell anything?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, just attended and.
I think Pat sold 1 bottle, and
Great education opportunity.
it's right, so that's the thing, so we're not sure, there's somebody else managing it at Bold Rock. So, and they're saying that they're gonna do a lot better, they're gonna advertise, and it's just gonna be a lot better, thing. So far, the weather's looking good, but they even have plans for putting vendors inside if it rains. But we're just gonna give it another try and see. So if you want to come out and help us talk, we already have 2 or 3 people selling honey. So but if you want to talk to me about bringing some honey out, that's fine too. But it'd be, just might be nice to have a group of beekeepers hanging around on it. Yeah. Wear a bee shirt, something like that. So
What are the hours?
it's like the tap room, I think, opens at 11. But technically speaking, the hours are from 12 to 6. And there's gonna be music, but I don't know if there's gonna be music during the day. So, I'm sorry?
When?
This Saturday. Yeah, from 12 to 6, but if you want to come, you can come anytime during there and just hang out for a little while and, talk in case people show up and want to hear about bees.
Jim, the only criticism I guess we as beekeepers have made on it is that if they have live music, they tend to put us right up against the speakers. And we can't.
Yeah, well, and
You got that.
well, we
5,000 decibels.
we tried not to play too loud when I was in the band when we were playing, but they have had a couple of, really like, let me go into the next zip code here, would you? So,
We're not old farts either. You don't play AC/DC when you turn it on.
well, yeah. Okay. You do that. You come.
Send in the guards.
Okay,
Is there a sign up or you just want us to show up or what?
just show up. It's like I said, I'm not really expecting much. It's 12 to 6 and
What's the point of the deal? Is it a fair or a?
it started, this is,
This Saturday,
this past Saturday was, International Bee Day. Did anybody know that? And, so the first year they did it, they couldn't have this on that day, so they had something else going on that day, so something that they thought was more important. And that first year that we had it, there was people showed up, just brought all sorts of plant stuff, and Kim Bailey brought stuff with the butterflies and did a big program, and there was a couple other people did programs. And there was just a whole mess of people there. The word spread, I guess. So Bee City was there too. And then the second one was about as good, and the third one was pretty good. And then the last couple have not, it's just been going like this. But the guy that managed it last year did not do a very good job of getting any advertising, and there's a new person managing it.
What's the point of it? Is there a name or a title to it or?
Bee Fest, Bold Rock Bee Fest.
Oh, I got a question. Yeah, no, fine, thank you.
Okay. So anybody on Zoom wants to come out too, you're welcome. So, any other questions? We got the sign up sheet for Apple Festival up now. There's some spaces open. You covered that. Okay. What about October? Farm City Day. Covered that, okay. Okay, well, thank you very much. Look at this, we're getting out early. Uh-huh. And now we want to have private questions of Lewis.